The Westbrook mansion looked like something out of a fairy tale that Christmas Eve, every window ablaze with golden light, garland wrapped around marble columns, a 10-foot tree visible through the grand windows of the ballroom. From where I stood in the circular driveway, snow falling softly around me, it looked magical. From inside, it had felt like hell. My hands were still shaking, not from the cold, I'd only been outside for 5 minutes, but from the adrenaline crash after what had just happened. I could still hear my father's voice echoing in my head. "Get out of my house. You're not part of this family." I'd known coming home for Christmas was a mistake. 2 years ago, when I'd turned down the VP position at Westbrook Corporation to work for a nonprofit, my parents had cut me off completely. No trust fund, no health insurance, no safety net. Brittany, my younger sister, had swooped in to fill the role of perfect daughter, and I'd become the family embarrassment. But some stupid part of me had hoped that Christmas would be different, that maybe, after 2 years of radio silence, they'd be ready to forgive me for choosing my own path. Instead, I'd lasted exactly 90 minutes before everything imploded. It had started when someone bumped into me near the fireplace, causing my wine glass to tip forward and splash across Mrs. Richardson's cream silk dress. The mayor's wife. Of course. "I'm so sorry," I'd gasped, reaching for napkins. "Please, let me. Don't touch her." My mother's voice had cut through the Christmas music like a knife. Elizabeth Westbrook, resplendent in emerald green, her face flushed with champagne and fury. "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" "It was an accident, Mom. Someone bumped." "It's always an accident with you, isn't it?" My father appeared beside her, tall and imposing in his custom tuxedo. Robert Westbrook didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Every word landed with the weight of a judge's gavel. "Apologize, on your knees, now!" The party had gone silent, 100 eyes watching. Brittany filming on her phone, a small smile playing at the corners of her red lips. That's when something inside me snapped. "No." My father's eyebrows shot up. "What did you say?" I said no. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. "I won't kneel and apologize for an accident. Mrs. Richardson, I'm genuinely sorry about your dress. I'll pay for the cleaning, but I won't be humiliated." "You'll pay?" Brittany's laugh rang out. "With what? Your barista salary?" More laughter. Someone whispered. The phones came out. "Get out," my father said quietly. Dangerously. "Get out of my house. You want to be independent? Fine. Be independent. Don't come back. Don't call. Don't expect anything, because you're no longer a Westbrook." I'd looked at my mother, hoping for, what, protest, defense? But Beth Westbrook just stood there, one hand on her pearls, her mouth a thin line. So I'd walked out. I'd walked. Through the crowd that parted like I was diseased, past the doorman who couldn't meet my eyes, into the snow. Now I stood by the fountain, my cheap heels sinking into fresh powder, trying to call an Uber with fingers too numb to type. Behind me, I could hear the party resuming. Laughter, music, life going on as if I'd never existed. Going somewhere? I spun around. A woman stood at the edge of the driveway, snowflakes catching in her long dark hair, maybe late 30s, wearing jeans and a worn jacket, and barefoot, completely barefoot in the snow. "Who are you?" My voice came out rough, broken. She tilted her head, studying me with dark, intelligent eyes. "Someone who knows exactly how you feel right now." She took a step closer, and I noticed she didn't flinch despite the snow under her bare feet. "Sarah Westbrook, Yale graduate, economics degree, 2 years working 70-hour weeks for poverty wages because you wanted to help people instead of make money, and now thrown out like trash on Christmas Eve." My heart hammered. "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know things." She smiled, but it wasn't warm. "My name is Kate Morrison, and 10 years ago, I stood exactly where you're standing. Broken, betrayed, destroyed by someone who was supposed to be trustworthy." "I don't understand." "Your father." Kate's voice went cold. "Robert Westbrook. 10 years ago, he was my father's business partner on a development deal in Brooklyn. They were going to build a mixed-use complex together. My father, David Morrison, had invested everything. His savings, his reputation, borrowed against our house. She moved closer, and in the glow of the Christmas lights, I could see the scars on her hands, the hardness around her eyes. A week before closing, your father found other investors, cut my father out entirely, took the deal for himself, and left David Morrison with nothing but debt and a lawsuit he couldn't afford to fight. No, my father wouldn't. But even as I thought it, I knew it was possible. Robert Westbrook didn't become a real estate mogul by being nice. I'd heard the stories whispered at dinner parties, seen the way competitors looked at him with barely concealed hatred. My father lost everything, Kate continued softly. The company, the house, his reputation. 6 months later, my mother couldn't take it anymore. She swallowed a bottle of sleeping pills. I was 16 years old when I found her body. Kate, I'm sorry, but after that, I bounced through foster homes, dropped out of school, lived on the streets, did things I'm not proud of just to survive. She held up her scarred hands. These? From working construction under the table. The feet? Frostbite when I was 17, sleeping in a subway station. Lost 3 toes. Can't feel cold anymore. I stared at her, horror and something else, recognition, warring in my chest. But I learned, Kate said. I learned how power really works in this city, who to talk to, what strings to pull, how to find weaknesses and exploit them. I spent 10 years preparing, Sarah, watching, waiting for the right moment to take back what your father stole from me. You want revenge. I want justice. She stepped close enough that I could see my reflection in her eyes. And you're going to help me get it. I should have run. This woman was clearly unstable, dangerous. But I didn't move. Why me? I whispered. Because you have access, information, a lifetime of watching the Westbrooks from the inside. And because right now, you're angry enough to actually do something about it. Kate smiled. 1 year? Give me 1 year? I'll teach you everything I know. Strategy, psychology, how to take down empires without leaving fingerprints. And by next Christmas, you won't be the girl standing in the snow. You'll be the one with all the power. And what do you get? Peace. The knowledge that David Morrison has been avenged. That's all I want. The snow fell harder now, covering the driveway, the fountain, making everything look clean and new. Inside the mansion, I could see Brittany through the window laughing, her phone still in her hand, probably already posting the video of my humiliation. I thought about my father's face, my mother's silence. 2 years of struggle and poverty while they lived in luxury. 2 years of proving I could make it on my own, only to be dismissed like I was nothing. When do we start? I said. Kate's apartment was in a building that should have been condemned, but inside it was different, small but organized, one wall entirely covered in books. The Art of War, Influence, Thinking Fast and Slow, Digital Marketing in the Modern Age. A laptop that looked expensive and out of place. A mattress on the floor, made with military precision. Home sweet home, Kate said, finally examining her feet. They were raw and red, but she showed no sign of pain. Sit, we have work to do. She placed a notebook in front of me. Paper, not digital. First lesson, know your enemy. Not who you wish they were, but who they actually are. Write down everything about your family. Fears, weaknesses, secrets, everything. Kate, I don't know if I can. You can. You've lived with them your whole life. Start with Robert. I picked up the pen with shaking hands. This felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. He wants to be mayor, I said slowly. He talks about it when he drinks. Says he could run the city better than any politician. Kate's eyes lit up. Political ambitions. Exploitable. What would destroy those ambitions? I hesitated. Then I remembered his voice. You're no longer a Westbrook. He has a temper, usually controls it, but when he loses control, he says things. Racist things. The kind that would end a political career. Has anyone recorded it? Not that I know of. He's careful. But maybe at the office, when he thinks no one important is listening. Kate nodded, writing. What else? Personal secrets? I swallowed. There's an assistant, Jennifer, late 20s. He takes her to dinners. Just the two of them. My mother gets this look when Jennifer's name comes up. Affair? I don't know for sure, but probably. Good. Beth next. Talking about my mother was harder, but I forced myself. She runs the Westbrook Foundation, the charity. Most of the money goes to administrative costs and events, not to actually helping kids. Maybe 20% reaches the people it's supposed to help. Tax fraud? Legal but unethical. The foundation follows the rules technically, but the spirit is corrupt. Personal secrets? I thought about the locked medicine cabinet. The slurred words at night. Pills. Prescription painkillers. I think she's addicted. Kate made notes. And Brittany? This was easier. Everything about her is fake. Half her Instagram followers are bots she bought. Her income is Dad funneling her money through fake sponsorships. She has massive credit card debt, and there's a video from last year. She got drunk at a party and went on a rant about her followers, called them basic bitches and wannabes. Her friend Madison Pierce has a copy. Kate sat back, genuinely smiling. Sarah Westbrook, you're a natural. See? You know exactly where the bodies are buried. She pulled out a calendar. Here's the plan. For the next month, you focus on rebuilding yourself. Gym, every morning at 5 a.m. I'll cover the membership. Public speaking class at the community center. Practice confidence. Right now, you apologize for existing. That ends today. And then? Then we start the real work. Small strikes. Testing our weapons. Brittany first. She's the easiest target. Spoiled, careless, arrogant. Once she falls, your parents will panic. That's when we move on them. I looked at the calendar, at the books on strategy and power, at Kate's scarred hands and damaged feet. What if I fail? I whispered. Kate knelt so we were eye level. 3 hours ago, you were crying in the snow, thinking about running away. But you didn't run. You're here. You're angry. You're ready to fight. That's all the strength you need. The rest, I'll teach you. She stood and offered her hand, scarred, missing toes. A hand that had survived the unsurvivable. I took it. 1 year, Kate said. Next Christmas Eve, you won't be the girl in the snow. You'll be the one holding all the power. I looked at her bare feet, at the small apartment filled with books on warfare, at the intensity in her eyes. I trust you, I said. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear and doubt, a flame ignited. Not quite revenge yet, but the promise of it. The beginning of something that would change everything. The first time I woke up at 4:45 a.m. without wanting to die, I knew Kate's training was working. 3 months, 90 days of brutal routine. Gym at 5, where I learned that my body was capable of far more than I'd given it credit for. Public speaking classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where I practiced looking people in the eye without apologizing for taking up space. Freelance marketing work during the day. Kate had connections, and suddenly I had clients willing to pay real money for my Yale economics degree. Evenings studying the books Kate assigned. Psychology, negotiation, social media algorithms, behavioral economics. I'd lost 15 pounds, gained muscle, cut my hair into a sharp bob that made me look older, harder. Started wearing contacts instead of glasses. Small changes that added up to something bigger, confidence. But the real transformation was internal. Kate had taught me to see people differently, not as humans with complex emotions, but as systems with exploitable weaknesses. It should have horrified me. Instead, it felt like putting on glasses for the first time and realizing the world had always been sharp. I'd just been seeing it wrong. You're ready, Kate said one morning in late March, setting down her coffee. We were in her apartment, now familiar territory. I'd started keeping clothes here, sleeping over when planning sessions ran late. Brittany's launching her makeup line next week. The brand deal is worth $500,000. That's when we strike. My stomach fluttered. 3 months of preparation, and now it was real. What do I need to do? Kate smiled. Remember Jessica Andrews, your friend from Yale who's now an investigative journalist at the Times? We haven't spoken in 2 years. Then it's time to reconnect. Take her to lunch. Be honest. Tell her you've been struggling, that you miss her friendship, and then casually mention that you've heard some interesting things about Instagram influencer fraud. She'll investigate Brittany. She'll investigate the industry. Brittany will just be one example among many. No fingerprints pointing back to you. I nodded slowly. This was it. The line between thinking about revenge and actually executing it. Kate leaned forward. Sarah, are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. Brittany will know someone is targeting her, even if she doesn't know who. Your family will circle the wagons. It gets harder from here, not easier. I thought about Christmas Eve. Brittany's smile as she filmed my humiliation. The video she'd posted that had gotten 200,000 views, transforming my worst moment into entertainment. I'm sure, I said. Heck. Jessica Andrews met me at a cafe in the West Village, and for the first 10 minutes, I almost forgot this was a strategic move. She looked the same, curly red hair, freckles, that intense focus she got when she was really listening. We'd been close at Yale before my family drama had consumed everything. God, Sarah, I've missed you, she said, squeezing my hand. I saw what happened at Christmas. That video, I wanted to reach out, but I wasn't sure if you'd want to hear from anyone. I should have called you, I said honestly. I was embarrassed, ashamed. Don't be. Your sister is a piece of work. Jessica shook her head. Actually, speaking of Brittany, I've been thinking about doing an investigation into influencer fraud. The fake followers, the bot engagement, the sponsored posts that aren't disclosed properly. It's a massive industry built on deception. My heart rate picked up. Kate had predicted this perfectly. Jessica was already interested. I just needed to nudge. Brittany bought followers, I said quietly. I've known for years. Started small, maybe a few thousand, but now it's probably hundreds of thousands, and her engagement rate is terrible. Lots of followers, but barely any real interaction. Jessica's eyes sharpened. Can you prove it? I can point you in the right direction. She uses a service called Follower Boost. They're based in Bangladesh, but they have a website. If you ran her account through one of those follower audit tools, the bot percentage would be obvious. This is perfect. Jessica pulled out her phone, already taking notes. I'll need to make it broader than just Brittany, maybe feature 3 or 4 influencers, but she'd be a great lead example, especially with her makeup launch coming up. Guilt flickered in my chest. This wasn't just information anymore. This would hurt Brittany's career, maybe destroy it. Then I remembered her laugh, the recording light on her phone. Who wants more champagne? The guilt disappeared. The article dropped on a Tuesday morning, 2 days before Brittany's makeup launch. The headline, The Influencer Fraud Epidemic, When Followers Are Fake and Influence is Bought. Brittany was the lead example. Screenshots of her follower audit showing 68% bot accounts. Messages from Follower Boost confirming transactions. Side-by-side comparisons of her engagement rate versus actual influencers with similar follower counts. It went viral within hours. By noon, #BrittanyWestbrook, SA fraud was trending. By evening, the makeup company had pulled out of the deal. By midnight, she'd lost 150,000 followers, including real ones who felt betrayed. I watched it unfold from my apartment in Queens, my laptop open, refreshing Twitter every few minutes. Kate sat beside me, quiet and satisfied. How do you feel? She asked. Powerful, I admitted. Is that wrong? It's human. Kate refreshed the screen, showing Brittany's Instagram. She'd posted a crying selfie with a long caption about haters and fake news. The comments were brutal. Your sister built her entire identity on a lie. You just exposed the truth. There's nothing wrong with that. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. Hello? Sarah? Brittany's voice was thick with tears. Sarah, please, I need your help. I put the call on speaker so Kate could hear. Why would you call me, Brittany? Because you're my sister. Someone is destroying me. The article, the timing, it can't be a coincidence. Someone is doing this on purpose, and I don't know who or why, and I'm scared, and... She dissolved into sobs. 3 months ago, I would have comforted her, offered to help, felt guilty for causing this pain. Now I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "I'm sorry you're going through this," I said, my voice flat. "But I don't think there's anything I can do. Please." "Good luck, Brittany." I hung up. Kate was watching me carefully. "How do you feel now?" The truth was, I felt amazing. For the first time in my life, I'd had power over Brittany instead of the other way around. I'd watched her fall apart, and I'd felt nothing but triumph. And that scared me. "I feel like I'm becoming someone I don't recognize," I said quietly. Kate nodded. "Good. That means it's working." The first crack in my trust came 3 weeks later. I'd started sleeping over at Kate's apartment more often. It was easier than commuting to Queens, and our planning sessions often ran until 2 or 3 a.m. One night, I woke up thirsty and padded to the kitchen for water. Kate's bedroom door was slightly open. Inside, I could hear her voice, low and intense. "Don't care about your timeline, Victor. The girl is progressing exactly as planned. By summer, she'll be ready to move on the father." "No, she doesn't suspect. Because I'm good at this. That's why." Victor? I didn't know any Victor. I crept closer, my heart hammering. "The Morrison Company assets are still tied up in Westbrook Corporation," Kate continued. "Once we destabilize Robert enough, the board will panic. That's when you make your move to buy back in." "Yes, I understand the stakes. I've been planning this for 10 years. I'm not going to fail now." She laughed, cold and bitter. "Sarah Westbrook is a tool, nothing more. A very useful tool, but still. Once she's served her purpose. Yes, fine. We'll discuss it next week." I backed away silently, my mind racing, returned to the couch where I'd been sleeping. Lay there staring at the ceiling until dawn. Kate was using me. This wasn't about teaching me to fight back or helping me reclaim my dignity. This was about using my inside knowledge and family access to destroy my father so she could reclaim some company I'd never even heard of. And who the hell was Victor? I asked. The next morning, I called Daniel Foster. We'd been friends at Yale. He'd gone to law school, now worked at a corporate firm. Smart, discreet, and someone I could trust. "Sarah Westbrook," he said warmly when he picked up. "Long time. What can I do for you?" "I need you to research someone, quietly. Kate Morrison, age approximately 38, used to live in Brooklyn, and anyone connected to her named Victor." "What's this about?" "I'll tell you when you find something. Please, Daniel, it's important." "Give me 48 hours. Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. I continued training with Kate, pretending everything was normal, but every conversation felt like a test. Was she lying about this too? What else didn't I know? When Daniel called back, I was at the gym. I stepped outside into the spring air, my hands shaking. "You're not going to like this," Daniel said without preamble. Kate Morrison, real name Catherine Morrison Blake. She was married at 19 to a man named Victor Blake, divorced at 21. Victor Blake is a real estate investor. And Sarah? He was your father's partner on that Brooklyn development deal. My blood ran cold. Wait, Victor was the partner who betrayed Kate's father? Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. Kate's father, David Morrison, didn't just lose the deal. There's evidence that both Robert Westbrook and Victor Blake conspired to push him out. They profited equally. After David's death and Catherine's mother's suicide, Victor gave Catherine a settlement. Guilt money, probably. About $200,000. She's been investing it carefully ever since. So Kate isn't just after my father. She's working with the man who also betrayed her family? Looks that way. I found emails between them dating back 6 months. They're planning something called Operation Reclamation. From what I can piece together, they want to destabilize Westbrook Corporation enough that the stock tanks then buy back the Morrison Company assets at a discount. They're using you as their inside source. I felt sick. Daniel, thank you. Send me everything you found. Sarah, be careful. These people aren't playing games. I hung up and stood there on the sidewalk, people flowing around me, my entire world tilting. Kate had lied about everything. Her motivations, her goals, maybe even her tragic backstory. She didn't want to help me. She wanted to use me. I should have walked away right then. cut contact, gone back to my quiet life, forgotten about revenge. But I didn't. Because even if Kate's motives were selfish, she'd still taught me valuable lessons. She'd made me stronger, and I was beginning to realize that I didn't need her permission or her plan to take down my family. I could do it myself. I started playing a double game. With Kate, I remained the eager student, following her instructions, feeding her information about my family. But privately, I was building something of my own. The freelance marketing work had led to something bigger. A small startup needed help with their digital strategy. I created a campaign that tripled their customer base in 6 weeks. Word spread. Soon I had 3 clients, then 5, then 8. In June, I registered my own LLC, Westbrook Digital Strategies. Let my father see that name in the business registry and wonder. That's when I met Thomas Rivera. He approached me at a networking event, all easy charm and expensive suit. 32, investment analyst looking for promising startups to fund. His firm specialized in women-led businesses. "Your growth rate is impressive," he said, those dark eyes sharp with intelligence. "6 months from launch and you're already profitable. Most startups take years to get there." "I don't believe in wasting time," I said, meeting his gaze steadily. Kate had taught me that. Never look away first. "Neither do I." Thomas smiled. "Let me buy you dinner. I want to hear your 5-year plan." I should have been suspicious. A handsome investor showing interest in my tiny company? But I was lonely. 3 months of nothing but work and revenge planning. No friends, no social life. Thomas seemed normal, safe. We had dinner, then coffee, then dinner again. By July, we were dating. Kate noticed. "Be careful," she warned. "Emotional attachments make you vulnerable." "I know what I'm doing," I said. I didn't. Ugh. By August, my company was thriving. I'd hired 3 employees, moved into a small office space in Manhattan, was profiled in Forbes as a rising star under 30. The article mentioned I was Robert Westbrook's daughter. I'd made sure of it. My father read it. I know because Beth called me for the first time in 9 months. "Sarah, sweetheart." Her voice was strained. "I saw the article. Congratulations. Perhaps we could have lunch. Catch up?" "I'm very busy, Mother. Please, just one lunch." "I'll think about it." I hung up. Kate was pleased. "They're noticing you. Getting nervous. Perfect. It's time to move on, Beth." "What did you have in mind?" "The foundation. Jessica's already investigated influencer fraud. Now she investigates charity fraud. Your mother's foundation spends 80% on administrative costs. That's legal but scandalous, especially if certain donors knew their money was funding Beth's lifestyle instead of helping children." I hesitated. Brittany had been easy to target, spoiled, careless, mean. But my mother— "What's wrong?" Kate asked sharply. "Nothing. I just need to think about timing." "Don't go soft on me now, Sarah." But I was going soft. Or maybe just waking up. 3 months ago, bringing down Brittany had felt righteous. Now I was planning to destroy my mother's reputation, possibly her freedom if the foundation's practices crossed into fraud territory. "I need more information first," I said. "About the foundation's actual financials, not just the public records." "Fine, but don't take too long. Momentum matters." I hired a forensic accountant to examine the Westbrook Foundation's tax returns. What he found was damning. 82% administrative costs, payments to Beth's friends for consulting that appeared to be kickbacks, luxury retreats disguised as charity events. But he found something else, too. "There are significant medical expenses buried in here," he said, pointing at the spreadsheet. "Coded as wellness program costs, but they're actually payments to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Someone at the foundation has been getting treatment, expensive treatment. Chemotherapy, radiation, the works." My hands went cold. "Can you tell who?" "Not from these records, but the amounts started 18 months ago and have been increasing. Whoever it is, they're very sick." I thanked him, paid him, and then sat in my office for 2 hours, staring at the wall. Then I called Daniel Foster again. "I need you to find out if Elizabeth Westbrook is being treated for cancer. Quietly. Very quietly." "Sarah, please." Egg. The medical records came back 3 days later. Daniel had contacts at the hospital, friends from law school, people who owed favors. Beth Westbrook, stage 3 ovarian cancer. Diagnosed 14 months ago. Prognosis, uncertain. Treatment, aggressive chemotherapy and radiation. She'd been hiding it from everyone except her doctors and one nurse coordinator. The prescription painkillers I'd thought were recreational? Legitimate pain management for a woman enduring cancer treatment while maintaining the facade of a perfect society wife. I sat in my apartment. I'd finally moved to a nicer place in the West Village thanks to my company's success, and cried for the first time since Christmas Eve. Not because I felt sorry for my mother, but because I'd been so ready to destroy her without knowing the full story. I'd become exactly what Kate had trained me to be, ruthless, calculating, willing to hurt anyone to achieve my goals. When I went to Kate's apartment that evening, I told her we were pausing the plan. What? Kate's face darkened. We're so close. Beth is vulnerable. Robert is worried about his political image because of Brittany's scandal. This is the perfect time to strike. My mother has cancer, I said flatly. Stage 3. She's been undergoing treatment for over a year. Kate's expression didn't change. So I'm not going to destroy a woman who's fighting for her life just to get back at my father. That's exactly when you should strike. She's weak, distracted. No. I stood up. I'm not you, Kate. I'm angry at my family, yes, but I'm not going to become a monster to punish them. You're being weak. I'm being human. There's a difference. Kate's eyes went cold. If you quit now, you'll always be the girl they threw into the snow. You'll never be strong enough to face them as an equal. Then maybe that's who I am. I headed for the door. Sarah, wait. I need time to think. Don't call me. I left before she could respond. For 3 weeks, I focused on my company, took long walks in Central Park with Thomas, tried to figure out who I actually was beneath all the anger and the revenge fantasies. Thomas was patient, sweet. He listened when I talked about my family without judgment. Started saying I love you in early October. I said it back, meaning it. Then Daniel called. Sarah, I found something. About Thomas Rivera. My stomach dropped. What? His real name is Thomas Blake. He's Victor Blake's son. The world stopped spinning. What? Victor Blake, the man Kate's working with. Thomas is his son. I found the birth certificate. Thomas Blake Rivera changed his name legally when he was 21, after his parents divorced. Sarah, I think he was sent to get close to you. I hung up, pulled up every email, every text, every photo of Thomas and me together, looking for signs I'd missed. Found them everywhere. The way he'd approached me at that networking event, too smooth, too prepared. His interest in my company, convenient timing. His questions about my family, casual but constant. He'd been spying on me, reporting back to his father and Kate. Everything, the romance, the I love yous, the plans for the future, had been a lie. I called Thomas and asked him to meet me at our favorite restaurant, the place where he'd first said he loved me. Fitting. He arrived, smiling, tried to kiss me. I pulled away. We need to talk. His smile faded. What's wrong? I pulled out the documents Daniel had sent. Birth certificate, name change record, emails between Victor Blake and Kate Morrison discussing the Rivera boys' progress with the target. Thomas's face went white. When were you going to tell me? My voice was eerily calm. Before or after you'd gotten everything you needed? Sarah, let me explain. Explain what? That your father and Kate hired you to seduce me? To keep tabs on me? To make sure I stayed focused on destroying my family so they could swoop in and profit? It started that way, Thomas said urgently. I won't lie. My father asked me to get close to you, to monitor the situation. But Sarah, I fell in love with you. Really. That wasn't part of the plan. I slapped him. Hard. The sound cracked through the quiet restaurant. Other diners turned to stare. Don't you dare, I hissed. Don't you dare tell me any of it was real. It was real. Sarah, please. I stood up, threw the documents at him. Everyone in my life has used me. My family threw me away. Kate manipulated me. And you made me believe someone actually cared about me. That was the cruelest thing of all. I do care about you. No, you care about whatever your father promised you if you pulled this off. Money? A promotion? Approval? I grabbed my coat. Tell Kate and Victor they'll have to find another puppet. I'm done being used. Sarah, wait. But I was already walking out, into the October night, alone, completely, utterly alone. For 2 days, I did not leave my apartment, didn't answer calls from Thomas, from Kate, from anyone. Just sat on my couch, staring at the wall, trying to figure out what to do next. I'd cut ties with Kate, ended things with Thomas, but I still had my company, my employees, the life I'd built separate from all the revenge and manipulation. Maybe that was enough. Then I got a call from an unknown number. Miss Westbrook, this is Dr. Chen from Memorial Sloan Kettering. I'm calling about your mother, Elizabeth Westbrook. She's asked me to contact you. Her condition has worsened, and she'd like to see you. My hand tightened on the phone. How bad is it? I think you should come to the hospital, Miss Westbrook. Today, if possible. I hung up and stared at my phone. My mother, who'd stood silent while my father threw me out, who'd cut me off without a second thought, who'd chosen money and status over her own daughter. She was dying, and she wanted to see me. I could ignore the call, let her face death alone the way she'd let me face exile alone, or I could be the bigger person. After everything, the betrayals, the lies, the manipulations, maybe that was the real victory. Not becoming like them, but staying myself despite everything they'd done. I grabbed my coat and headed for the hospital. Not for revenge, not for strategy, but because maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance for something real. Beth Westbrook looked small in the hospital bed. That was my first thought when I walked into her private room at Memorial Sloan Kettering. My mother, who'd always seemed larger than life, perfectly coiffed, impeccably dressed, commanding every room she entered, looked fragile, human. The chemotherapy had stolen her hair. She wore a silk scarf, but I could see the hollow places in her cheeks, the bruised circles under her eyes, the IV line snaking into her thin arm. Sarah. Her voice was barely a whisper. You came. I stood in the doorway, unsure. 3 months ago, I'd been planning to destroy this woman's reputation. Now I just felt tired. Dr. Chen said you wanted to see me. I'm dying. She said it simply, like stating the weather. The cancer has spread to my liver. They're saying weeks, maybe a month. A pause. I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. Those 3 words hit harder than any of my father's shouting ever had. For what, specifically? I kept my voice neutral. For standing silent while Dad threw me out? For cutting me off? For 2 years of treating me like I didn't exist? All of it. Tears slid down her hollow cheeks. I was a coward, Sarah. Your father is a strong man, a forceful man, and it was always easier to go along with what he wanted than to stand up for what was right. I told myself I was keeping the peace, maintaining the family. But really, I was just taking the easy path. She reached out a trembling hand. I didn't take it. I saw your Forbes article, she continued. Saw what you've built on your own. I was so proud and so ashamed that I hadn't supported you when you needed me. Her voice broke. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I was wrong. About everything. I stood there, all the carefully constructed walls around my heart cracking. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? Acknowledgement, apology, proof that I'd been right all along. So why did it feel so hollow? I forgive you, I heard myself say. The words surprised me. I don't know if I can forget, but I forgive you. Beth's face crumpled. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. I finally moved closer, took her hand. It felt like holding a bird, delicate bones, paper-thin skin. How long have you known? 14 months. I didn't tell anyone except your father. Didn't want to be pitied. Didn't want the foundation donors to think I was using my illness for sympathy. She laughed bitterly. Stupid, really? Pride is a terrible thing. The foundation, I said carefully. I know about the financial irregularities. Her eyes widened. You investigated? I was planning to expose you before I knew about the cancer. I might as well be honest now. I wanted to hurt you the way you hurt me. I understand. She squeezed my hand weakly. Did you find evidence of actual fraud or just poor management? Poor management. Unethical but legal. Good. She closed her eyes. Sarah, when I'm gone, I want you to take over the foundation. Reform it. Make it what it should have been. Can you do that? Mom, please, let me do one thing right before I die. Let me give you the tools to actually help people, the way you always wanted to. I looked at this woman who'd given birth to me, raised me, then abandoned me when I needed her most, who was now, at the very end, trying to make amends. Okay, I whispered. I'll do it. She smiled and drifted off to sleep, still holding my hand. After that hospital visit, everything changed. I couldn't go back to the revenge plan, not Kate's version and not my own. But I also couldn't just forgive and forget. My family had caused real damage and there needed to be accountability. So I came up with a third option. I started investigating Westbrook Corporation's financials, not to expose them publicly, but to understand them. What I found was illuminating. My father had overextended dramatically. 3 major development projects happening simultaneously, all leveraged to the hilt. If even one failed, the whole company could collapse. He was also being sued quietly by several former partners for breach of contract. The legal fees alone were bleeding the company dry. Robert Westbrook's empire was already crumbling. He just didn't know it yet. Through Daniel Foster's firm, I made discreet contact with several institutional investors who held Westbrook Corporation shares, made it known that I was interested in acquiring a controlling stake, not to destroy the company, but to reform it, to make it ethical, transparent, sustainable. Some investors were intrigued. A Westbrook turning against a Westbrook made for good drama. But more importantly, I had a solid business plan. Over the next 6 weeks, I quietly purchased 35% of the company's shares. Then I reached out to other shareholders, small investors who'd lost confidence in Robert's leadership, offered them a deal. Support me in a vote to replace the CEO, and I'd guarantee transparency and better returns. By early December, I had commitments for 51% of the voting shares. I owned my father's company. He just didn't know it yet. The package arrived at my office on a Tuesday morning. No return address. Inside was a letter, a USB drive, and legal documents transferring 40% ownership of something called Morrison Holdings LLC. The letter was from Kate. Her handwriting was shaky, rushed. Sarah, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm not brave enough to keep fighting, and I'm too tired to pretend anymore. You were right to walk away. I was using you, not just for revenge against your father, but because I wanted to prove that I could turn someone soft and kind into someone hard like me. I wanted to prove that the world makes monsters of us all eventually. But you didn't become a monster. You became stronger while staying yourself. That's something I could never do. The USB drive contains all the evidence you need about Victor Blake's involvement in destroying my father. He was just as guilty as Robert Westbrook, but he offered me money and I took it. I've been working with the man who killed my parents, Sarah. What does that make me? Morrison Holdings is the remnant of my father's company. I bought back the assets over 10 years using Victor's guilt money and careful investments. It's worth about $15 million now. It's yours. Use it however you want, to destroy your father, to help him, or to build something entirely new. I'm sorry I tried to make you into something you're not. You were always better than me. Don't be sad for me. I've been dead inside since I was 16. This is just making it official. Kate. My hands shook as I called the number on the legal documents. A lawyer confirmed it. Kate Morrison had committed suicide 4 days ago. Pills, quiet, alone in her apartment. She'd left everything to me. I sat at my desk and cried. For Kate, for the girl she'd been before tragedy broke her, for the mentor she could have been if she'd chosen healing instead of revenge. And I cried for myself, for how close I'd come to following her path. The Westbrook mansion looked the same as it had a year ago. Lights, garland, the towering tree visible through the windows. But this year's party was smaller, only 30 guests instead of 100. Word had spread about the company's troubles, and fair-weather friends had found other invitations. I arrived at 7 p.m. exactly, dressed in a sharp black suit that I'd bought with my own money. My hair was pulled back in a severe bun. I wore Kate's pearls, the only jewelry she'd owned, included in the package with her letter. Daniel Foster was with me, along with 2 representatives from the investment firm that held my shares. We walked up to the front door, and I knocked. Brittany answered. She'd changed too, less makeup, simpler dress, genuine shock on her face when she saw me. "Sarah? What are you—" "I'm here to see Father." I walked past her without waiting for permission. The party fell silent as I entered, 30 faces turning toward me. My father stood by the fireplace, older and grayer than I remembered, my mother's death 2 weeks ago having clearly taken its toll. "Sarah." His voice was hard, but I heard the uncertainty beneath it. "You weren't invited." "I don't need an invitation." I handed Daniel a folder, and he began distributing copies to everyone in the room. "As of this morning, I own 51% of Westbrook Corporation. The board has voted, and you're being replaced as CEO, effective immediately." The room erupted in whispers. Robert's face went purple, just like it had a year ago. "That's impossible." "It's done, Father. I have the votes. I have the shares. I have the legal authority." I kept my voice calm, professional. "You can either accept this gracefully, or I can have security escort you out. Your choice." "You ungrateful—" He took a step toward me, fist raised. "Don't." Daniel stepped between us. "Unless you want assault charges added to your problems." Robert froze, looking around the room at all the witnesses. Slowly, his hand dropped. "Why?" he asked, and for the first time, he sounded human. Hurt. "Why would you do this?" "Because someone needs to fix the mess you made," I said. "The lawsuits, the over-leveraging, the shady deals. You've nearly destroyed what you spent 40 years building. I'm here to save it." "By humiliating me? By taking everything I've worked for?" "No, by giving you a choice." I pulled out a second folder. Option 1. You resign as CEO. Stay on as a consultant. No real power, but you keep your dignity and a salary. The company survives, gets reformed, becomes something we can all be proud of. Option 2. I expose everything publicly. The affairs, the questionable business practices, the partnerships you've betrayed. You lose everything, the company, your reputation, any chance at the political career you've dreamed about. That's blackmail. That's consequences. I stepped closer. "A year ago, you threw me into the snow and told me I wasn't part of this family. You taught me that love is conditional, that respect must be earned through obedience, that anyone who disagrees with you deserves to be destroyed." I gestured at the room. "Well, I learned the lesson. I got strong. I got strategic. I got ruthless enough to take everything you value. But unlike you, I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to offer you the mercy you never showed me." Robert's eyes were wet. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to apologize. Publicly. Right now. To me and to every person in this room who watched you humiliate me a year ago." The silence was absolute. "And if I do?" he asked quietly. "Then you get to keep your dignity, your title of founder, your legacy. I'll reform the company in your name, make it something honorable. Your grandchildren, if Brittany ever has any, will inherit something worth being proud of." Robert looked around the room, at Brittany crying silently by the door, at the guests all watching, at me, his daughter, who'd become everything he'd raised me to be, strong, successful, powerful, just not in the way he'd wanted. Slowly, painfully, he knelt. "Sarah Elizabeth Westbrook," he said, his voice cracking. "I am sorry. I was wrong to throw you out, wrong to cut you off, wrong to make you feel worthless for choosing your own path. You were always the better person, and I was too proud to see it." Tears were streaming down his face now. "Please forgive me. Give me a chance to be the father I should have been." I looked down at this man who'd terrified me my whole life, now broken and kneeling at my feet. A year ago, this moment would have filled me with triumph, victory, vindication. Now I just felt tired. "Stand up, Dad," I said softly. "I don't need you to kneel. I just need you to see me." He stood, and I did something I never thought I'd do again. I hugged him. He sobbed into my shoulder while the room watched in silence. Morrison Westbrook Corporation was now ranked in the top 10 most ethical real estate companies in America. We'd settled all the lawsuits, divested from questionable projects, implemented transparent accounting. Profits were down initially, but employee satisfaction and public reputation were at an all-time high. Brittany worked in our marketing department, genuinely learning the business from the ground up. She'd apologized privately, and while we weren't close, we were trying. Robert had retired to spend his final months. The doctors had found pancreatic cancer, stage 4, getting his affairs in order. We had dinner every Sunday, talked honestly for the first time in my life. The Westbrook Foundation, now under my leadership, actually helped children. 80% of donations went directly to programs. We'd won awards. As for me, I stood in my corner office overlooking Manhattan, morning coffee in hand, thinking about Kate, about the barefoot woman who'd found me in the snow and taught me how to be strong. She'd wanted me to become hard. Instead, I'd learned something different, that real strength isn't about crushing your enemies. It's about having the power to destroy them and choosing not to. It's about being strong enough to forgive. I raised my coffee cup toward the window, toward the sky, toward wherever Kate was now. "Thank you," I whispered, "for showing me who I didn't want to become." Then I turned back to my desk. I had work to do, not revenge, just building something better.